Some things are all around us and we don't even know it. Air, unless it moves. Pain, unless it's ours. Mental health challenges, unless we're attuned. Be one who knows about mental health disorders, destigmatizes them, makes and is the difference.
Addiction. It's still a word filled with stigma and misunderstanding. Inaccurate portrayals in movies have blinded our eyes to see that an addiction can happen in anyone's life. Overwhelming stress, unresolved trauma, including childhood trauma, and many other factors can lead us to practice behaviors or consume harmful substances to temporarily numb our pain. But there is hope for a lasting freedom. Adventist Recovery Ministries can help you find the path to life. Join a journey group to experience a Christ-centered 12-step program. Be trained as a facilitator to host a group in your church or community. You can also be trained as a sponsor or equip your church to be a trauma resource center. You can be someone's hope for freedom.
Life is challenging. Figuring out who you are, what you want, and how to get there, there's no instruction manual. Questions swirl in your mind, and you're not sure where to turn. A Rugged Journey is a safe place to ask your toughest questions. You can ask us anything, anonymously, and find solid advice on relationships, anxiety, addiction, self-worth, whatever you're struggling with. Our mentors are ordinary people, willing to join you on your journey in a compassionate and respectful way. The road can be long, but you don't have to walk it alone. A Rugged Journey.
Have you ever felt like you were nearing the point of being overwhelmed? Who hasn't experienced the feeling of burnout? From that place of being overwhelmed, have you felt there was nowhere to turn? As humans, we are very good at hiding the reality that at times we are way too close to our breaking point. In the midst of our overwhelm, we may even receive compliments that we've never seemed stronger, when in fact we really feel like we are breaking. What if there was a safe space where you could bring your brokenness and experience healing? Coming soon, you can engage in 12-step style groups to avoid succumbing to burnout. Be on fire. Avoid the burnout. Be not consumed.
Anxiety, relationships, addiction, self-worth. Where do you turn for answers to life's challenges? Gorgeous to God is a safe space for young women to ask their toughest questions and find their deepest purpose. Our mentors are ordinary people willing to journey with you in a compassionate and respectful way. You are loved. You are seen. You are gorgeous to God.
Most of us know where to go when our bodies are broken, but do we know where to go when our hearts are broken because of loss? At some point in our lives, we all experience the pain of loss and are in need of heart healing. When we lose someone or something important in our lives, it hurts. The hurt is called grief, and it calls out for relief, for comfort and some type of help. Where can we go? Where would you go? Health experts are predicting a pandemic wave of prolonged grief in the aftermath of COVID-19. We can be present for each other in both our joys and our sorrows. It takes a careful and understanding approach. Grief support groups can help. Your community, both in and out of your local church, is hurting. Watch for resources coming soon to help you more effectively lead others through the seasons of their grief. The mission of the Adventist Learning Community is to empower people with the passion and skills necessary to further the kingdom of Christ in the 21st century. Because of technology, we can put training, education, and resources into the palms of people's hands anywhere and anytime. Whether you're a pastor, teacher, church administrator, believer, or Christ seeker, you'll be able to find free courses that you can take for continuing education credit, certification, or just for fun. Our portfolio will help you manage and keep track of your continuing education units for pastors, teachers, and administrators, as well as student learning outcomes for pastoral interns. Our ministerial and educational library puts Adventist resources from around the world at your fingertips. Watch a video, read an article, and share what you find with others. Browse and connect with Adventist teachers that are looking to partner and create academic and faith-based learning projects. Search for project ideas that address real-world problems and create a solution. Follow the steps to guide your class through project-based learning and empower your students to take an active role in learning. Then, share your results. Explore our course catalog and see if there's a faith-based course you'd like to take or a resource you could use in your ministry or devotional life.
"3 pounds of remarkable matter commands your lungs to expand, your skin to feel, and your heart to slow down or speed up. This same 3 pounds of mass interprets the world around you and gives you the ability to remember the things you have seen, heard, smelled, and felt. Every word you speak, every step you take, every gesture you make is the product of this extraordinary matter called the brain." Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 23 lays the foundational principle of life. "Keep the heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." Life's issues find their reservoir in the heart or the mind, and by extension, the brain. Brain development begins from the back portion, which controls things like balance, voluntary movement, and even some involvement in thoughts, emotions, and social behavior. At the age of 25, it ends with the frontal lobes, which control reasoning and planning. To maximize brain health and, by extension, our mental health, we need healthy portions of 4 simple elements: sleep, eat, move, and think. Research indicates that sleeping removes toxins from the brain that build up while we are awake. Uninterrupted sleep is like a housekeeper who picks up and organizes all of the clutter that accumulates throughout the day. Thus, in order for our brains to thrive, we must get sufficient sleep. Eating is more than just putting food in the body. Eating is about consuming the type of foods that keep the brain running at an optimal level. Foods such as green and leafy vegetables, berries, walnuts, and foods that are rich in omega-3 are known as brain foods. With these daily nutrients, the brain can deal better with everyday stresses and boost its function. Movement is another element that aids in the care of our brain. Studies suggest that movement stimulates our brain. Inactivity, on the other hand, causes mental atrophy, which can lead to depression. Taking a brisk walk outdoors for at least 30 minutes a day can significantly improve our brain health and ultimately our mental health. Lastly, embracing healthy thoughts can have a significant impact on our brain health. We often do an excellent job evaluating the unhealthy and irrational thinking that others hold, but have difficulties identifying the harmful and baseless thoughts that lie at the core of how we see ourselves and others. The opportunity to share our thoughts with caring and trustworthy friends, family members, or mental health professional can help us discern between the thoughts that we need to embrace and the ones we need to let go. As it is in the natural, so it is in the spiritual. Our minds also need an intangible form of these same elements. Our souls must be nourished with the nutrition of the Word to stay active in service to Jesus and others, to embrace the healthy thought of God loving us despite our past mistakes in present imperfections, and resting in his promise to save us and love us forever.
Welcome back to the Restored Mental Health and Wellness Summit. We're glad you're here. We have had a full afternoon of seminars, and now we're going to wrap up the day with another keynote presentation and a feature presentation. We'll hear more about that in a second. But Angie, you were facilitating one of the concurrent seminars this afternoon. Tell us a little bit about what you heard.
Absolutely, Erica. Thank you so much. I was really excited to be in this particular seminar. We were talking about holistic approaches to mental wellness. And our first presentation, we had two presenters talking about the mind-gut connection and how nutrition and our diet and connected with our microbiome, how they can impact mental health needs and illnesses even. In fact, one of our presenters is a dietitian, and in their practice, they have seen benefits to their patients. And so it was really exciting to hear how we have resources at hand as ubiquitous as food that can help us with our mental health. We also talked about physical activity. And so I'm so tempted to have everybody stand up right now and do some jumping jacks, but your videos are not on, your cameras are not on, so we can't see you. But I hope you do some kind of physical activity as well, as that also can influence and impact our brain function. So I know that this was just a part of the amazing seminars we've had today. We've seen some chats and comments coming in about how much they really appreciated the presentations.
Well, thank you for sticking with us. I'm excited to hear our keynote presenter this afternoon, Dr. Marissa Leslie. Dr. Leslie is the System Medical Director of Psychiatry for Adventist Healthcare. She's an assistant professor of clinical psychiatry for Georgetown University School of Medicine. She is also a member of the Adventist Healthcare Incorporated Board of Trustees. She specializes in treating depression and PTSD in children and adolescents with an academic interest in immigrant and refugee trauma. Dr. Leslie holds a Doctor of Medicine degree from Loma Linda University. She completed her residency in psychiatry at the Loma Linda University Medical Center and completed a fellowship in child and adolescent psychiatry at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania. She holds a certificate in refugee trauma from Harvard University. Dr. Leslie has also worked with youth in her personal life as a big sister and youth club instructor as well, and believes in the ability of every child to thrive and succeed with proper support and mentorship. Her goal is to educate people on the importance of attending to their physical and mental health, since both aspects of health contribute to wholeness and true healing.
Thank you for joining this presentation. I'm Dr. Marissa Leslie, and I will be speaking on the topic of mental wellness and prevention. And as we start, I will just start with a brief word of prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for the participants today. I ask that you please bless this presentation, bless the hearers, and please show us how to live our lives more abundantly and accept the gift of abundant life that you give. In Jesus' name we pray and thank you. Amen. So today I will speak on the topic of moving from mental disease management to wellness promotion. It's an honor to present at this summit. I thank the organizers and specifically Angeline Brower for the invitation. So we will cover the following topics. We'll discuss what wellness is versus disease management. We'll review some effective mental wellness approaches. We'll learn ways to overcome barriers to implementing mental wellness approaches. And we will review the biblical evidence of mental wellness, the case for mental wellness in the Bible, and we'll review how mental wellness contributes to the biblical concept of abundant life. So take a minute and think about what comes to mind when you hear the term mental health. Take a minute. What comes to mind? I have a picture here of what many people think of when they think of mental health. I think they think of people being tormented, of perhaps forces outside of their body, but it doesn't usually have a positive connotation. The reality, though, is that it just describes health, the health of the mind. So sometimes it can be good and sometimes it can be bad, but it really is just health, just like your physical health. So when we talk about wellness versus disease, what am I talking about? The definition of wellness is an internal resource that helps us think, feel, connect, and function. It is very much an active process. It helps us to build resilience, grow, and flourish. And this is from the Global Wellness Institute from the author McGroarty. Mental wellness, I think this is extremely important to note, is not the absence of mental illness. You can be mentally ill and have mental wellness. It's not just focusing on our mental or cognitive functioning, but it's also a focus and a concentration on emotions, social relationships, daily functioning, and spiritual, religious, or the existential state. All of these things contribute to mental wellness. So if you're well in your cognitive as well as emotional, and you're well in your social relationships, and you can function in daily life and have a healthy spiritual, religious, or existential view, all those things contribute to wellness. Most people would agree that mental wellness is different than happiness. You don't have to always be happy to be mentally well. And in fact, one of the judges or one of the signs of mental wellness is how resilient we are in times of adversity. Few, though, have a good grasp on how to elaborate on the difference between mental wellness and disease or happiness. And sometimes the term mental wellness is used synonymously with mental health or mental well-being, two terms that are also difficult to define. One thing that may not be intuitive is that wellness should embrace individual differences. So what's mentally well for me may not be mentally well for you, but it also embraces vulnerability. So mental wellness does not mean you're invincible. It doesn't mean that you never cry or that you are just constantly this rock of emotional strength. There is room for sway, and vulnerability is important. What are the various aspects of mental wellness? Well, I have 4 here. One is mental, how we think, how we process, understand, and use information. So one example of that is, is there flexibility in your thinking, or is it rigid? Are you able to process quickly or quickly enough to interact? And understanding is important. That contributes to mental wellness. Emotional wellness, how do you feel? How do you manage and express your emotions? And are your emotions at a place where they're usually kind of at room temperature? Yes, there may be some fluctuations where you get angry or very excited or very sad and despondent, but are you able to really regulate your emotions most of the time in that in between? Or are they really just, are your emotions kind of held captive by situations? And then social wellness. How do you connect your relationships? How do you connect? And it also defines your relationships with others. And as people of faith, this aspect of wellness, it really is something that we can thrive in and take advantage of because we have natural community and natural connections by assembling together, by worshiping together. The pandemic has taken a hit, really hit this aspect of wellness, but we can certainly learn different ways to expand that aspect of wellness and thrive in the social realm. And then finally, psychological, how we act or function. And I want to distinguish psychological from mental. Mental is really how you process information. It's the brain, kind of fact part of your brain. Psychological is more the integration of all those things and the thoughts and the feelings and behaviors. How do you put it all together? Taking external inputs along with our internal capacity and then making decisions or doing things. What are your motivations? That's one example of a psychological aspect of wellness. Then what are some effective mental wellness approaches? Well, two papers highlight different aspects of these approaches. One paper by Shafran and the rest of the group looked at the holistic goals of therapy. And the authors state that therapy should not just focus on symptom reduction, but it should also improve the developmental trajectory. So how we go through the phases of life, how we go through childhood and teenage years and adult, and then older as we age. How do we go through those successfully and healthily? It should focus on that and improve that. And it should also improve activities that are important to the individual. And this is actually not something that many therapists do intuitively. Therapists, psychiatrists, those of us in the mental health profession, we often focus on symptom reduction. Are you less depressed? Are you less anxious? But focusing and integrating wellness into our view of mental health will also look at what's important to the individual. I may be less depressed, but am I thriving in those activities that are important to me and that I see as a part of my development and as a part of my roadmap? Then another study, the Michigan Health and Wellness Plan from Flint, Michigan, focuses on the adoption of health as a personal core value. So not just a byproduct, not an afterthought, but something that is core to our being. It describes approaches the state of Michigan has taken to address wellness, mental and physical wellness, as well as obesity. And they have a 4x4 tool, which can be used to maintain or attain health. And the tool recommends the practice of 4 healthy behaviors and 4 key measures. And these are the behaviors: healthy diet, regular exercise, getting annual physical examinations, which is a part of physical wellness, but also mental wellness. And why mental wellness? Well, if you don't know what's happening to your body or what's happening in your body and how to steer it and how to promote the healthiest behaviors, then things in your body are just kind of happening to you and you're not aware. So physical wellness and mental wellness are closely related and intertwined. And then for Michigan, the avoidance of tobacco use. Well, as Seventh-day Adventist Christians, for those of us who aren't struggling with the use of tobacco, this 4th behavior is a little easier. For those of us who are struggling with tobacco, we know that our church promotes physical healthy behaviors, health behaviors, and now we're learning more about mental health behaviors. There are also a group of many studies that have correlated the following behaviors with wellness: exercise, similar to the Michigan plan, meditation, and in the realm of Christianity, meditation is synonymous with prayer, although it doesn't always have to be. You can meditate on a sound, you can meditate on a song, but it is an activity where you're mindful and you're focused and you're not thinking 10 steps ahead or 10 steps back about mistakes in the past. You're focused on the moment and you're open to, if you're in prayer, receiving God's word, receiving God's presence. And that very act can slow down the heart rate, can slow down the mind, and reduce all of those stress chemicals that occur when we're kind of going, or thinking about something that's distressing. The group of studies also found that music can be very, very helpful to mental wellness. There were some negative associations with a specific group, and this is a group that has religious behaviors but is not in organized religion. And there were some increased anxiety and increased traumatic stress reactions when people were highly religious, not in organized religion, however, or moderately religious, but not in organized religion. The World Health Organization found, however, that spirituality can make a significant contribution to mental health promotion and mental health influences. And the last part of what the World Health Organization found was that mental health can actually also, vice versa, influence our spiritual lives. So use the term spiritual. Spiritual tends to connote a deeper personal experience, and religiosity is more the ritual of it. And in our faith, we believe that the two are important. But I guess before I move on, I'll point out that the mental health influencing the spiritual life. If someone is struggling with anxiety, doubt, depression, it can make you wonder, are you being cared for? Is there a being? Why would you suffer this? So in that sense, that's one way mental health can influence spiritual life. In a positive sense, if we're mentally well, we can have the energy and the concentration to really delve into, say, Bible reading or volunteering or church attendance. We won't want to isolate, and we will be more open to God's love and protection. Now, I'm not saying that if you're depressed that you're not spiritual enough. I'm definitely not saying that, but there are times that our spirituality are negatively affected by poor mental health experiences. So the thinking being, if we're mentally well and we're engaging in mental wellness activities, along with whatever mental health regimen we're supposed to engage in if we need medicine or therapy, that all of that can help contribute to mental abundance. Okay, so the next topic is about their practical tools that you can hopefully use in your ministry, in your home, in your personal life, or with your family. And I've broken it up into groups, youth, young adults, or adolescents rather, and then young children. So some helpful wellness activities for groups such as churches or your workplace or your ministry are these 6 things. For example, you can have a sleep challenge. It doesn't mean you're sleeping in your ministry or sleeping at church. It just means that you're encouraging members of your church, members of your workplace to wear a sleep tracker and to compete for prizes or incentives. You can also engage in 30 days of gratitude, where employees or church members can write down one thing they feel grateful for every day for 30 days. You can, as a group, engage in peaceful planting, where you bring a plant into the office and see how it improves or affects your wellness. And for those places that are open to it, bringing your pet can also create a family-friendly atmosphere. Chair massages can be helpful. Again, reducing that cortisol and reducing those stress chemicals. And then also a meditation month for stress relief, dedicating a few minutes a day toward the practice of meditation, prayer, or mindfulness. Some activities for teenagers include the 3 things. And these activities are really specific to development, and here's why. Teenagers, when it comes to emotions, are focusing on communication, healthy communication, For those of you with teenagers, you can probably relate to that. They're also focusing on how to bounce back. As a teen, yes, the brain is more mature, but there are things that they're experiencing for the first time, perhaps, maybe the loss of a loved one, or of course, rejection when it comes to romantic relationships. Being able to bounce back is a task that teenagers have the opportunity to learn and to continue to master in a healthy way. And then also teenagers are figuring out, they're bridging that gap between childhood where they may not have been encouraged to be as assertive because they were expected to maybe follow the rules. They're bridging the gap between rule following and kind of speaking up for themselves and asserting themselves. So these three things, there's a checklist for assertive behavior. From positivepsychology.com, you can find a worksheet which has a tool to identify assertive behavior. It can help someone clarify a goal, decide on significant points they want to say, and then help them anticipate positive and negative responses so that they help regulate how they react. And as I mentioned earlier, they can learn more about healthy communication and tips for resilience. The worksheet on this website can offer tips for using events as learning experiences and help them focus on what they can control, how to develop compassion, and how to develop good self-care habits. Activities for children include these tasks. Children are learning how to be aware of their emotions. If you think about a baby will cry for almost anything. I'm wet, I need a hug, I'm hungry. They're really focused on the one emotion of just distress. But as the brain develops, we learn different emotions, different ways of being, and different words for our emotions. And also, we learn to communicate our emotions instead of acting them out. So helping children identify feelings is a great activity to promote mental wellness. So an example of this would be if children are asked to circle their feelings and write what they're upset about and how they can ask for change. They also learn different strategies for coping with unpleasant or distressing emotions. And another thing children can do is to make a calming box. In some classes or groups or therapy groups, they, instead of a box, they can make a jar where you put water, glitter, and there's another chemical I'm missing, but you basically, maybe oil, and you shake it up and you allow the glitter to settle. And as the glitter settles, that represents your emotion settling to a calmer place and a more manageable place. The calming box can include things that help the child cope. If they identify this in advance, it's often helpful in a situation of distress. And then finally, teaching kids to use I messages. This is a useful tool for naming emotions, describing behavior, and requesting a change. For example, I feel sad when you don't listen to me, and mommy or daddy or sister, I'm asking you to listen to me when I'm telling you something instead of looking at your phone. That's an example of an I message. And that's a very mature and healthy way of, again, communicating, which is a very important task for children as they learn to navigate their emotions. So how do you implement some of these activities? How do you not just put it by the wayside and just continue chugging along with unhealthy mental behaviors? Well, I propose 4 different things that can help overcome the barriers to wellness. One would be to prioritize. Wellness activities can sometimes become challenges, competitions, and it's not that. It really is an investment in you, and it's an investment in how to approach mental health from a very positive and health promotion perspective. So prioritize what you want to work on and prioritize what's important to you. Try one wellness improvement at a time. Do not try to do it all at one time. In fact, in our faith, we believe in moderation, and the same is true for implementing any change, including a wellness change. Remind yourself how valuable you are to God and that He thinks you're worth it. He thinks that you focusing on your mental wellness is absolutely important, and He will help guide you through that. And then finally, approach wellness intentionally. And what do I mean by that? Well, at work, we're pretty intentional. We may have an Outlook calendar or some sort of electronic calendar with our schedule, meetings. We map it out. We plan meetings in advance. We plan our day in advance. Why not schedule some wellness activities? For example, at lunchtime, you find that you're sitting a lot at work or at home, schedule a walk, make it pleasant. You're worth it. Anything that's important to you, you schedule. So why not try to schedule a wellness activity? And then, if you don't want to schedule it, then make it a habit, or you can schedule the habit. But whatever you do, approach it intentionally and remember that you're worth it. And it's important to focus on it. And as I near the end, I'm sharing a checklist that the National Institutes of Health in the US has offered. It's different ways to really intentionally focus on your wellness. They have the principle, the definition of the principle, and then also some specific things you can do and check off as you intentionally work and focus on these wellness principles. One is brighten your outlook. Experts say that people who are emotionally well have fewer negative emotions and are able to bounce back from difficulties faster. So some of the ways you can develop a positive mindset include remembering good deeds, forgiving yourself, and practicing gratitude. We also have spending time with your friends and exploring your beliefs about the meaning and purpose of life, which people of faith are encouraged to do very regularly. Then there's reducing stress, which is almost synonymous with wellness, but it's a specific activity. Some of the things that can reduce stress include getting enough sleep, exercising regularly, building a social support network, showing compassion for yourself, relaxation, and seeking help if you need it, seeking professional help. Now, get quality sleep. We've seen sleep in the stress column, but we also see sleep as an item independently. And the operative word, the key word is quality. So how do you get quality sleep? Go to bed and get up each day at the same time. That would include weekends. Sleep in a dark, quiet place. Exercise daily. There's exercise again. Limit the use of electronics around bedtime. Relax. And then avoiding alcohol. And if sleep is still an issue, consulting a healthcare professional, because there are some specific illnesses or I guess quirks about our body that can contribute to sleep problems. Abnormal thyroid, being around menopause, those things can lead to sleep alterations. And then some people just have altered sleep phases and sleep cycles. But certainly there are some illnesses and ailments that can impair sleep. Being mindful, we talked about this earlier. And for example, deep breathing can really help with mindfulness and really helps to lower the heart rate and slow the mind. Coping healthily with loss. Although there's no right or wrong way to mourn, there are some ways that are healthier than others. And you can learn healthy ways to cope. Talk to a caring friend, taking care of yourself physically and diet-wise, not making any major changes right away while dealing with loss. And then, of course, joining a grief support group and being patient since mourning takes time. Then finally, strengthening social connections. Building healthy support systems by building strong relationships with children if you have them, getting active and sharing good habits with family and friends. Some people say getting accountability partners when it comes to wellness and health promotion can be really, really helpful. Joining a group focused on a favorite hobby, sharing interest. Take a class to learn something new, meet new people. There is something to our brains really developing new networks. When we have to learn something new, like a language or a hobby or a skill, our brains really get in the habit of working different areas of the brain and developing new networks. And then that helps promote that mental aspect of wellness. And I will also point out that research is very supportive and has borne out that social connections actually help protect health and lengthen life. So what's encouraging is that the Bible has many, many promises and verses about wellness. And I'm sharing some of my favorites with you. From 1 Timothy 4, we're admonished to spend our time and energy in training ourselves for spiritual fitness. Physical exercise has some value, but spiritual exercise is much more important, for it promises a reward in both this life and the next. And I like this verse because it focuses on what we should expect in this life too. A peaceful heart leads to a healthy body in Proverbs. And Jesus tells us in Matthew, come to him if we're weary and carry heavy burdens, he will give us rest. He also gives power to those who are tired and worn out. He wants us to wait on him. And we're advised to not be impressed with our own wisdom, but to fear the Lord and to rely on him. And that will give us renewed health and vitality. God is very invested in our vitality and our abundant life. So I'm going to end, the last verse I'm going to focus on, you can certainly view the others, is this verse from Isaiah, where God tells us that he will guide us continually, watering our life when we are dry and keeping us healthy. You will be like a well-watered garden, like an ever-flowing spring. Such a beautiful image that God wants us to thrive and not just survive and plow through to eternal life, but he wants to bless us in this life too. Oh, and I should also, they're all just such good verses. So I will actually end with the one that talks about a cheerful heart doing good like medicine. It's good to laugh, it's healthy to laugh, and it can contribute to wellness. So I'll end with my absolute favorite verse when it comes to wellness, and that's that verse of abundant life, that Christ has come that we may have life and that we may have it more abundantly, not just living, but thriving, not just surviving, but truly thriving and having abundant life. We're promised this in John 10:10, and God can empower us to truly live a mentally well life. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope that this has been helpful and a blessing to you. Here's my contact information. Thank you, and I really pray that you gain a lot from this wonderful conference.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leslie. That was a wonderful presentation, an overview again about the holistic approach to mental health and mental wellness. I hope you've seen that that is a recurring thought of what we are sharing throughout this summit. I know you've had it in your seminars as well, for those of you who are with us here on Zoom. And it is a recurring theme in the field of mental health and wellness, and also growing in the practice of mental health care. And we are going to now show another feature video with Dr. Daniel Binus, who is Medical Director of Beautiful Minds Medical. I've had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Binus on several opportunities, and I'm really impressed at what they have been able to accomplish and integrate within their clinical care practice of including these holistic approaches as they're caring for their patients. And this is, again, an important look at how there are multiple avenues and multiple ways to bring that wholeness and that hope for individuals. So to Dr. Binus and his team at Beautiful Minds Medical, thank you for preparing this video for us today.
Hi, my name is Dr. Daniel Binus, and I'm a psychiatrist. My journey into the field of mental health started in 2006 when I entered into residency at Loma Linda University. I'm really grateful that I had that start for my psychiatric career, especially because Loma Linda University taught me about the biopsychosocial spiritual model. And that approach to make people whole through a holistic model really resonated with me. I especially enjoyed learning about how spirituality can really help people and how that makes a huge difference for their mental health. However, when I was going through my residency, I also saw a major problem. I saw that the paradigm for mental health treatment in America is primarily focused on treating symptoms rather than addressing root cause issues. I saw that most people were quick to say, you know what, just give me a pill, fix me, make me feel better, and I'll go on my way. But the problem with that I saw over and over again is that people got sick again, and they ended up needing to come back for more treatment, more medication, sometimes more therapy, but in the end, it almost seemed like a revolving door. And I thought, what would it look like if we started to do this a little bit different? What would it look like if we really set up a clinic and a mental health intervention that addressed root causes instead of focusing on symptoms? Because of this, my wife and I, Melissa, started a mental health clinic in Northern California in Auburn. And the name of our clinic is Beautiful Minds. The vision behind Beautiful Minds was really to support a future in mental health care that brings effective healing to the whole person by changing the paradigm around the treatment of mental illness. We believe in treating the whole person through integrative lifestyle methods and providing support, education, and the environment needed for individuals and families to reach their full potential. Here you can see the spectrum of care that we offer at Beautiful Minds. On the left, we have psychiatry, counseling, and then we have the intensive outpatient program. We have transcranial magnetic stimulation, life and health coaching, wellness education and outreach, and in the near future, a whole person care center. Now, this didn't happen overnight. This has been over 10 years in the making. And when I first started, I started just as a solo practitioner, and my wife was gracious enough to work the front desk. And I realized very quickly, I cannot do this alone. I need help. And so we started praying, and God sent some amazing, amazing people to come alongside us and to help us in our work with people, really integrating the holistic things that we've learned. Now, the flagship program, if you will, is the intensive outpatient program. And I love this program. It's kind of like our baby because we really see a lot of the holistic elements that we've been able to incorporate in the care of the patients in the intensive outpatient program. The program is 5 days a week, 3 hours every day, and most patients end up staying 2 to 4 weeks in the program. Well, this proof of concept, when we started integrating things into the intensive outpatient program, like nutritional interventions and exercise education and spiritual outreach and the cognitive behavioral therapy thrust, it's amazing how we've seen the results really pan out and work. More than 90% of depressed patients actually have a positive treatment response. 92% of patients who have high levels of anxiety coming into the program leave with low to mild levels of anxiety. And over 2/3 of patients suffering with depression go into remission before discharge from the intensive outpatient program. So again, these results really excite me because this really proves the concept that holistic mental health treatment does work. It is possible. It is very, very effective. I want to also show you just in a graphical presentation here how these depression levels drop off. For example, with the PHQ-9, we see starting average 18, which is in the moderate to severe depressive category, and dropping down to about 7 in the mild which ends up being in the mild depressive category. Average depression levels on the Beck Depression Inventory is in the severe range, about 30, and then going all the way down to 10, the normal ups and downs. And again, we see the power of the cognitive therapy intervention, especially with the Beck Depression Inventory that really measures more the cognitive aspect of depression. And then the average anxiety levels, starting with a moderate, going down to very low at discharge, and then the average hopelessness levels being at a moderate hopeless state on average, and then minimal down to 3, and that's from the Beck Hopelessness Inventory. I want to just spend a couple minutes here and show you a brief testimonial video from one of our patients that went through our program, so you get a taste of the difference that it makes in the lives of our patients.
I just can't believe where I was before and how much better I feel now. I am a nurse. I was a new grad to the ICU, and then COVID hit, and that was really difficult on me mentally, physically, and especially emotionally. I was just going through a lot. I started going to therapy. I was just trying to take better care of myself, and just not able to do well with that. It just had me questioning a lot of things in my life. And we made some big decisions. We were living up towards Reno. We moved back down here. I was still going to therapy. I started working with a personal trainer at the gym. I started eating better. I was drinking more water. I was trying. I was in a different unit at the hospital down here, and it just still, I didn't want to be on this planet anymore. And it was really, really hard. I just knew that I needed some further help, and as hard as that is for some people to recognize, it was time, because I feel like I did all I could on my own and I needed more. IOP really helped me to understand that we really are not alone in our journey for mental wellness. You know, everyone always says like, oh, you're not alone, you're supported, we love you, but it's different to hear it than it is to feel it. Coming to IOP really changed my life. It helped me learn different ways to cope and different ways to take good care of myself, and just really to help me on the path to be the best person that I can be. I don't even know where to start with the thank you list. I just can't believe where I was before and how much better I feel now. And I don't know that I could have figured that out without being here and without the team, without Dr. Binus and Katie and Amanda and Savannah, my life coach, just everybody here, all the presenters that we've had, all the education, all of the support. Like, I wouldn't be here without Beautiful Minds, and that's the truth.
We continue to move forward as we seek to integrate more and more holistic modalities into our mental health treatment. As a next step, last year in February 2021, we opened the Pilot Wellness Center. So there we've started to integrate water treatment. So we've done hot and cold hydrotherapy treatments specifically for mental health. We also are doing massage therapy, and we also have our senior peer counseling center there as well. And it's really neat to see people experience these different elements, and as they put these things together, the effect that it is having on their mental health. Here in the very near future, we're planning to do some specific research to see the difference between those that actually engage in these holistic services compared to those that actually don't. I want to show you just a brief video that shows a little bit about our Pilot Wellness Center, and I hope you enjoy this.
Hello and welcome to all of our Beautiful Minds Wellness supporters. I'm Dave Fernandez, Director of Donor Engagement at Beautiful Minds Wellness. I'm here with Dr. Daniel Byness, President and Founder of Beautiful Minds, and we'd like to show you a virtual tour of our recently completed Community Wellness Suite.
That's right. What we're going to show you today was made possible by your very generous contributions. As a special thank you to our donors, we want you to be some of the very first to see our new wellness suite. We hope you enjoy.
I'd like to introduce you to Michelle. She is our Wellness Center Manager. Michelle, could you tell us a little bit about your involvement with Beautiful Minds up to this point?
Okay. I've been with Beautiful Minds for about 2 years, and up to this point I've been helping to coordinate our community workshops and webinars and community events. But now I'm very excited to be part of this new wellness center. This is something we've been dreaming about for a very long time.
That's right.
And we've been planning towards it here for the last few years, and to actually see it come together is very exciting. And in this center, we're going to be offering some holistic services that help with healing for mental health, and we'll be offering hydrotherapy and massage therapy, which is kind of not what you would traditionally think of for treating mental illness, but it really has been proven to be very effective and doesn't have the side effects and things that other treatments do. So we are very excited to be supporting Beautiful Minds Medical and your patients in providing some different wellness services.
So Michelle, tell us a little bit about what we see in here and what this space is going to be used for.
Well, this is a space I'm actually very excited about. As I mentioned, I've been helping with the community education for the last few years, and one of the challenges that we came up with was finding a space to hold our workshops. So this is actually going to be a space that we will hold our community workshops, and we will have support groups in here as well. So this will be used, I think, quite frequently. Some of our different Bible study groups will be meeting here in the evenings. During the day, Dr. Jason McCraw is going to be using this as a treatment room as well. You can see some of his equipment here for his physical therapy treatments. So this space is going to be kind of a multi-purpose use, but it's going to be getting a lot of use. So we're excited to have this.
Absolutely, and I've seen firsthand how important those education groups that we have, and how a lot of people from the community enjoy coming and learning more about the holistic mental health principles and really applying those. And especially nowadays, it's nice to have a space where people can gather safely and learn important principles for good health. Now, beyond holistic treatment, we also want to provide holistic education so that people can actually prevent mental illness. You've all heard the adage that says an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and we really believe that. And so we've been trying to educate people through community outreach, doing whole person mental health education workshops, and then we also have support groups like a peer support group. We also have a Bible study, and then we're also doing online education, mental health courses that are online, and webinars. And then we recently started a podcast called the Brain People Podcast that is brought to you by 4 mental health experts teaming up to bring you practical tools for overcoming mental health challenges. And here you see a picture of myself and 3 of my colleagues that are participating in the Brain People Podcast. And not only is it educational, but it's also a lot of fun for us. I wanted to give you just a brief taste of what our podcast is like. And so I want to just roll this clip for you right now. Welcome to the Brain People Podcast, a show where 4 mental health experts team up to bring you practical tools for overcoming mental health challenges. The Brain People don't replace your doctor or therapist, but we will give you some extra tools to help you on your journey. So join us as we fight mental illness, one episode at a time. Welcome to the Brain People Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Daniel Byness, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Amanda Anguish, who is a marriage and family therapist. And today we're going to be talking about a very pertinent topic when it comes to mental health, and that is the topic of guilt. Now,
most of us do not like to feel guilty. But part of what we're going to explore today is feeling guilty always a bad thing, or can there actually be an upside of guilt? So, Amanda, I'd love to hear a little bit from your perspective when you think about the term guilt and maybe that theme is coming up with your clients. Is that an issue that you think is actually a good thing, a bad thing? Are you neutral? What are some of the things that we can do to deal with guilt?
Well, that's a really good topic to bring up. I'm glad we're doing this because a lot of people do feel guilty or have guilt, but it's something we don't like to talk about very much. And so anytime we don't like to talk about something, sometimes the best thing to do is talk about it. So we take all of those little demons out of, the definition and everything, and also learn to have a healthy respect for guilt, because my job is to help people think differently about things. And so this is a topic that I hear a lot. And so it started me thinking, well, maybe we need to think about this differently than we always have. So I do believe there is an upside.
Here in the near future, we're in the process of putting together our plans for a holistic Beautiful Minds Wellness Campus. And the goal here is to take it one step further, to not just educate people about the need for good nutrition and the need for exercise, but to actually walk through with people through this process. In other words, we want to have not only the services that we have now, but we also want to add a plant-based cafe. We plan to have a fitness center and do exercise support with the patients, and a community garden, add integrative physicians' offices, and then also have temporary residential units for patients and or family members from out of the area. In addition to that, we are already in a natural setting, so we like to integrate the natural surroundings and have the walking paths and all this, because we believe very strongly in the power of nature to heal and to help people's mental health. So here you see the architect's rendition of where we're going. You can see the spa area, which will be in the large hydrotherapy and massage therapy area, the fitness center, the healthy eating cafe, conference room, as well as the mental health treatment rooms. Here you see a picture of what the building and the campus are going to look like. Now, in closing, I want to say a special thank you for allowing me to take this time to share what we are doing. But I want to say that really, this isn't what we are doing. This is what God is doing through us. Over 10 years ago, when we started this clinic, I started as a solo practitioner. And I realized very quickly that doing this by myself, trying to reach people in a holistic manner, was impossible. And so we started to pray and we said, God, we really want to reach people. The world needs this holistic mental health message, and we don't know how to give it. And certainly we need help in giving it as well. Well, it's amazing the way that God has answered over the years. He has brought us so many wonderful coworkers, so many wonderful staff members to work alongside us, and he's brought us step by step. And I'm just amazed at where he has brought us, and all the glory goes to God. And I really want to share this with you, not to show like, oh wow, we're so awesome, but to share with you what God is doing and what he can do also through you. And so I want to encourage you that if God is pulling on your heart and you're having that sense of, I want to do something for God's kingdom, I want to do something to help his children from a mental health perspective, then do it. And just start somewhere, start small. And just ask God one step at a time, and he will show you the next step. And he'll also bring people alongside you to help you in that process. I don't think it's an accident that we have learned so much over the last few years about holistic mental health treatment in general. There are so many problems in our world today, and I don't have to tell you that. We all see it everywhere. We see it in our families. We see it in the world. We see it on the news media. We see it on people's faces when we're just out on the streets. We have a special message that God has given us. And I want to encourage you to take that message and say, God, What would you have me do with this? How can I share this? How can I practically really help people? And God will help you one step at a time. Thank you again for letting me share. May God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Welcome back. And Dr. Bynus, thank you for the work that you and your team are doing there at Beautiful Minds Medical. So we are going to go to our breakout rooms because we want to talk about this a little bit more. We want to talk about how can you make it practical to do what Dr. Bynus and his team are doing, but in your setting. Whether you are thinking about your local church, how you can make that happen, or if you are a practitioner and wondering what in the world can I do to make this happen at my practice, or perhaps even thinking about, well, how can I do this with the church and a medical practice? So we're going to have that conversation coming up.
To all of you who have been joining through the live stream, we're going to say goodbye for now, but you can join us back here at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow morning. We look forward to seeing you then. But before you go, here is a word from one of our sponsors, General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, Dr. Peter Landless.
Some things are all around us and we don't even know it. Air, unless it moves. Pain, unless it's ours. Mental health challenges, unless we're attuned. Be one who knows about mental health disorders, destigmatizes them, makes and is the difference.